welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about the 10 things I learned in my early 20s that have helped me greatly. So a little backstory about me: I am the oldest sister and I'm also the oldest cousin in the cousin squad of my extended family. Not my extended, but my extended family. And a lot of these things I learned through trial and error and just kind of going and doing my own thing. So my perspective is from me learning on my own and things I've just learned throughout my years. So with that being said, let's get started. All right, so I'm gonna use my computer to look at my drafts and my blog. If you haven't seen my blog yet, check it out. Ashley, just kidding, it's not Ashley, goldengirlenergy.com. So the first thing that I learned in my early 20s is that whatever goal you have, whatever you want to do it now. So I know that seemed a little intimidating, especially when you might have 100 billion things that you want to accomplish in your 20s or even in your late teens, right? Some of those things that I thought like, oh, they will just come to me when I get older. Nothing really comes to you. Sometimes it does come to you, but other things you have to kind of seek it and you have to look for it or put in the work. So one thing or one example I would give is that I wanted to be a fitness instructor in college, but I was so shy and I didn't want to do auditions. And so I missed that opportunity to do it then. But later, my desire to do that thing never really left me. So I ended up getting my license on my own. I had to pay for it. And then I'm a group fitness instructor now, but I could have just got it for free if I just did it in college. So when I say do it now, just do it now, because later you might not have the opportunity and it just might not be feasible to do it as you age. Another example would be just traveling. So anytime you can have an opportunity to travel, I say almost always take it, unless it's like unsafe or way too much money. For me, I found my Panama opportunity in my school's newspaper, and that's how I was able to travel for free in Panama. But I couldn't do that if I didn't seek it and I didn't do it at that time. So I would say your desires never really leave you, and the things you really want to do, you're going to keep wanting to do them as you age, and there is no right time to do anything. And as you get older, you're still going to have that desire, and you're still going to want to do that same thing. No one starts off being really great at something. They have to work for it, and I would say that anything you want to do, you can start it now. And although you won't be the best at what you're doing the first day you do it, or maybe even the first month or year or 2 years you do it, at least you know a little bit more than what you did the previous day. In my blog, I talk a lot about the different ways in which I have a certain goal and a certain thing I want to do, and then how I execute it. So check out that. But yeah, my first one would definitely be do it now while you can. So the second thing I learned in my early 20s is that you should definitely understand your boundaries and how you want to be treated by other people. So that goes for any relationship you have, either with your boss or a significant other or even your friends. You have to kind of set a boundary or like a barrier or like a baseline as to how you're going to be treated and what's absolutely unacceptable. So I definitely think, especially for women, we're constantly told to be kind and passive and just kind of go with the flow. But I don't think that's conducive to being a healthy woman, honestly. For me, at least, I need a lot of charge time, me time. I also can't be out running around all the time. There's certain boundaries that you just need to kind of understand in order to make sure that you're really treating yourself with the utmost respect, because people will allow and do whatever they want to you as long as you allow them to do that thing. So if you don't have any boundaries, then life is just very complicated, and it can ruin your life and make life very tiresome and not fulfilling at all. If you find yourself being challenged with boundaries and not understanding them, then I definitely recommend therapy or different books. There's a really good book called Where to Draw the Line by Catherine. It's all about setting healthy boundaries in all the realms I just previously talked about. So yeah, that's the second thing I learned, and it's one of the most important things that I've ever learned in my early 20s. The third thing I've learned in my early 20s is that your perception is your reality. Your belief systems and the things that you are constantly thinking about life, whether it's about relationships, about your financial situation, even your intelligence, all of those things will create your reality and create what is your life. So for example, some limiting beliefs and perceptions that I used to have were that I am not smart and that I will live paycheck to paycheck and things like that. And for me, I had to go to the root of the problem as to why I even thought like that. And I realized like certain things, for example, like the fact that I thought that I was stupid came from one of my, family members constantly telling me that I was stupid. So my reality was that I never really paid attention in school. I mean, I did pay attention, I was in AP classes, but I still wasn't paying attention that much. And I always, especially in college, I had a really hard time in my STEM classes because I truly believed I could not pass those really hard bio classes and chem classes because I just wasn't good enough. I wasn't smart enough. And once actually a teacher, she was my biology professor, and she told me that, I don't understand why you don't think you're smart. She literally said this. She's like, I don't understand why you don't think you're smart. You're constantly questioning things. You're constantly trying to gather evidence. She was just very confused as to why I thought that way. And I was like, oh, I actually am smart. And I'm smart in my own way, right? And after that, I started doing really well in school, in college, and I started getting A's in my classes because I just studied harder. And I also learned that I can do it. It's just the way I'm doing. My friends always call me when I'm trying to make a video. Anyway, yeah, so what you think and your thoughts that you're constantly ruminating about, you have to really check them. You have to check the source, check the facts, MLA format, where are those references, right? Because certain beliefs are not even your beliefs. There's something that someone told you that you just believed for the longest time, and they do become your reality. So always check that, because anything limiting and anything that is hurting you rather than helping you needs to be tossed out the door. So that would be my third one. The fourth thing that I learned in my early 20s is to do things that make you feel decadent. So what I mean by this is to do things that make you feel really, really good about yourself and give you peace in your heart and in your mind and in your soul. So what I mean by this is not only do what makes you feel good, but also be around people who make you feel good. So if you feel in your mind and your body and your soul that some people just drain you after you interact with them, or even jobs, when it comes to jobs, or even relationships, if something is taking away from your core self, then you gotta let it go. Also, if a decision you're gonna make doesn't feel right, if it doesn't sit well with you, then you have to listen to your inner voice and you have to listen to yourself, because at the end of the day, you know what's best for you and your path is your own, and you have to do things that are gonna make you be like, yeah, I did that. That felt good. For example, me moving across the country, that felt really good to me. That made me feel very good. Same with going to Panama, same with going to my fitness classes, almost 5 times a week, 5 to 6, sometimes. Those things make me feel really, really good. Same with basic things like taking a shower and doing my hair, feeling decadent, okay? So anything like that, you have to really listen to yourself and do the things that really make you feel okay in this world, because girl, it is crazy everything is just all over the place, especially now. Everything's crazy, and you have to really protect yourself and do things that are going to sit well with you 5 years from now, 10 years from now, things that are going to make you feel good. Just because if you are constantly not doing things that sit well with your soul, you're going to go to bed feeling like crap, and you are going to constantly have that itch to get out of this negative feeling or situation, because you're constantly not listening to yourself. Listen to yourself and know that it's okay that you don't want to do something, or you're not comfortable with doing whatever it is. And it goes back to boundaries, understanding who you are and what works for you, and doing things that you can sit well with. So the fifth thing I learned in my early 20s is to be kind to people, because it will get you far. When I say being kind to people, I don't mean kissing people's bums or not respecting your boundaries. I don't mean that at all. What I mean by being kind is to treat the CEO the same as you treat the janitor or someone way below the CEO, right? I truly believe that those actions really carry out in many ways, and you never know when, someone can actually help you or you can help them. And just always remembering that we're all human beings, we're all interconnected, and no person is better than the other, right? That being kind will get you far, and I truly believe it is good karma to do kind things to other people, for other people, right? So whether it's holding the door for someone or helping someone out, and I'm not saying go to someone's car and help them get to their groceries and they snatch you. I'm not saying that. Why did that go into my head? But just being there for other people and making time for other people and listening to other people. I've always reaped the benefits when I've been like that, rather than, trying to climb upward in my career or whatever it may be, and kind of being a brat. Being a brat doesn't really do much for anyone, and really does help in the long run, and you'll always have a friend when you are like that. So I talked about this in one of my other videos of how to make friends studying abroad, and I was talking about how instead of you constantly asking other people for what you want, instead stop and listen to other people and just listen to what they want, and sometimes even helping other people out. When I was in Panama, I had a friend who really wanted to lose weight, and she was a little bit slower of a runner, but I still ran with her because it made her feel good. And to this day now we're still friends, and I didn't have to do that. Like, I could have done other things, but honestly, just helping other people just feels so good. And it's also, you'll also have a friend doing those types of things, and you'll also gain perspective from having friends and being kind to others, and having friends in all different totem poles, you know what I mean? So I definitely think it's really important to just treat people with dignity and respect in whatever place they're at in their life, and just never thinking that you're better than them, because you're not. You're not. Anyway, that's my number 5. Okay, my number 6, which is one of my favorite things to talk about, is to have an emergency fund. So an emergency fund is basically having a stash of cash that you use only for emergencies. You cannot use them on vacation. You can't use them on buying your boo, whatever. What is it? PlayStation 5? Like, which one? Is it 5? Yes, it's 5. I know this. Yeah, not for that. No. It is for, maybe your car breaks down. Medical bills. Something like that. Any of those things, that's for an emergency. That's what the emergency fund is for. I think there's a study that showed, I believe it's like 60% or more, I'll find the statistics, but it was saying how a lot of Americans, they don't even have $1,000 to spare in their name, meaning that if we didn't get just one paycheck from our employer, then we'd be in the hole, right? Even with this pandemic, not having an emergency fund really hurts you. So an emergency fund, you can watch a bunch of videos on this. I really like Dave Ramsey. He talks about having an emergency fund, and you can start off with just $1,000, and you can do this by even taking up, part-time jobs or things of that nature in order to obtain just $1,000 from the start, and then eventually trying to have enough for 1 month of your expenses, and then all the way up to 3 months. And some people do 6 months to a year. That's like really hardcore. If you can get there, which we could all get there, right? That's awesome. But you can start off with just 1,000. And I truly believe that having an emergency fund is one of the main reasons that I have a lot of peace of mind living on my own in one of the most expensive states in the United States, California. So definitely having an emergency fund is super important, and it will always save your butt, and it will also make you feel like you have abundance in your life and that you're not living in scarcity. Not knowing where you're going to get money or things of that nature is very, very stressful. It's very real, and it's just such a struggle. So I really recommend, if you're able to, having an emergency fund. That way you don't feel like this major anxiety, which is caused by having a lack of money. I really recommend that any way you can, just try to have a second income, a third income, work as much as you can, just so that way you have that stash of cash. And once you have that emergency fund, you can put it in a high interest savings account, so that way your money is making money, and it's just a really nice feeling. And like I said, you'll feel very abundant once you do this as well. If you're living on your own, it's just something that brings you a lot of it brings you a lot of calmness. The next thing I learned in my early 20s is to say exactly what you want. So this one kind of goes along with your perception and your boundaries. So when it comes to work, when it comes to relationships, I think it's really important to say what your needs are and what is going to work for you. This can really help your life, and it will get you things that you actually want. So the first thing that comes to mind when I think of saying exactly what you want is in the workplace. When you get a salary or an offer letter, you are told what your salary will be or your hourly wage, and I think it's important to say the price point you want in order to work for that job, because oftentimes employers will give you the lowest amount of money, and if you accept it, then they know, okay, that's just what it is, like that's what you're gonna get. But if you say, actually, based on my qualifications, based on this and this and this, I think a more appropriate salary would be this, or an appropriate hourly wage would be this. And just having the callbacks and like just having information and asking for what type of salary that you want or hourly wage that you want, you will be able to sometimes get more and exactly what you want, like I said. So I've done this before and it's totally worked for me. It's important to advocate for yourself and say what you need and say what you want. Same goes for relationships. If you are feeling as though you're not getting what you want, I think it's important, or especially early on, to say, oh, I'm not comfortable with this, or I am comfortable with this, we can do this, and just being honest with yourself. And that goes back to doing things that make you feel good, because if you are accepting positions or accepting a relationship that makes you feel like you're being stepped on, it's not a good feeling. It sucks. So always ask for what you want, and if you don't get it, there are plenty of other opportunities where you can get what you want. I always say, ask for what you want and say what you mean, say what you want. It's very important, especially, you know, in your early 20s, because the more you can work on that, the better you'll get at it, and the more you'll get out of life, because you know what to ask for. All right. So the next thing that I have on my list, kind of corny, but it is to always make your bed and do things with intention. So for this one, I'm talking about your habits that you have in your early 20s. Now, a lot of people always say that, your 20s are for partying and being crazy, right? But I believe that certain things that we do now will always stick with us. And I think it's important to have a framework of our habits and what we do in order to live a very good life. So my example was making the bed, but this can be anything from working out to eating healthy to brushing our teeth, right? So they say that for women, the prefrontal cortex, which is where the decision-making process happens and a lot of other things are happening, fully is developed by our later 20s, like 26. And for men, I think it's later, like 28. Your brain is still always processing and learning, and synapses are pruning, whatever. It's really important to have these good habits now so that way they don't feel so foreign to us in the future, and they just come a little bit more naturally to us because we've been working on them for years in our early 20s and beyond. I definitely think this is very true when it comes to exercising and eating healthy. I remember my biology professor was saying how people who weightlifted in their early 20s had lower risk of osteoporosis and other ailments with their body because they lifted weights and they protected themselves and they helped themselves for long-term health. So it's just another example of just doing things now with intention so that later it doesn't feel so foreign and it comes more naturally to us. The thing I have on my list is to seek new opportunities when you can. So for this one, I definitely think it's important in your early 20s to try to get as many opportunities that are very interesting and different and that align with your goals as you can. Whether it might be biking like 50 miles in California, or maybe it's traveling abroad or studying abroad or going to school abroad. I just want to travel, honestly. But I think it's really important to seek new opportunities when they come to you. For my Panama experience, I actually found the opportunity from the school newspaper, and that's how I ended up traveling for free to go to Panama. So when you're young, especially in your early 20s, it's really important to look for different opportunities, whether it's learning a new language or doing a meditation retreat or something that's just like so different, but it's gonna just make you more well-rounded and cultured and experienced and gain new perspective and knowledge in this world. I think one of the most limiting things is having a bubble of what you do and never kind of trying to pop that bubble of learning something new or growing in a way that you didn't necessarily expect to grow in, because then you're just limiting yourself and you're limiting your opportunities that you can get. Go for it, even if it feels hard and scary, because once you do it, you're gonna feel so freaking good and you'll look back and be like, wow, I did that. That's how I feel about driving across the country and doing things on my own. I always feel really good about them. And I definitely recommend anyone who is thinking about something really scary and new to do it, and to go for what's different and scary, because after you do it, you feel really empowered and absolutely lovely. So yeah. The last thing I learned in my early 20s is that you can't be good at everything, but the things that you are good at, you need to tap into those abilities. So for me, I was a STEM major, and I definitely don't think I'm the best at like biology, chemistry. I did a biomedical assistantship, and I definitely realized I wasn't meant for that type of work, but my abilities and the things I was very interested in was fitness and nutrition and health. So I realized that I need to tap into that. I need to tap into my social skills and the things that really work for me, because honestly you can't be good at everything, and a lot of channels and a lot of information that comes at you kind of make you feel like you have to be good at absolutely everything in this world, when that is not the case. And it's perfectly fine if you kind of suck at a few things, even a lot of things, but you have certain abilities. I definitely think in order to do your best in this world, you need to really focus on what you're good at and really capitalize on that when you can, because that is your talent and that is your gift, and you need to show that with the world, because it matters. Even though you might not think it does, it still matters, especially in this day and age where we're in a giant tech boom. A lot of people are profiting off of their talents that are very strange or weird, and it's really cool, because something that you wouldn't even think of 10 years ago as a job or a way to earn money is now something that someone's doing right now, making 8 figures, you know? So with that being said, those are the 10 things that I learned in my early 20s. I hope these things help you guys, and leave a comment below of what you learned in your early 20s that has helped you grow and prosper into a little butterfly like my earrings. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye!